Welcome back to Honduiville. Oh no, wait, that was the last Honda. How about Hondelkovich? I'll do it. Welcome back anyway. What are we up to this time? Well, we're going to be finishing off a foot peg. We're going to be finishing off our front cowling, bikini fairing, seeing what it might look like in situ. With those lights even. And yeah, that reminds me. First up, we're going to give it a little hit with some gloss primer. Gloss finish. Anyway, this is just some random Ace product. Not 2K, but I think it's good enough for that. And what's best about this particular product is the lid. That easy, folks. These lids, as you can tell, not so much. Yeah, why are they such a struggle? Anyway, that's that done. Meanwhile, on the foot peg front, this is like option 2, is to put on the old original foot pegs. Yes, those big old 1980s flared rubber boot things. Kind of reminds me of him. Anyway, back to this. Yes, normally you don't completely paint and finish the article before you test fit it, obviously, because you're going to have to drill holes in it, especially if you want to put a headlight or something in there. So this is what's termed as reverse engineering, or simply plain stupid. Stupid boy. But there's kind of some reasoning behind it, because I just wanted to see what it looked like before I even tried to mount it, right? So, with the aid of some trusty zip ties, let's kind of see how it's shaping up. Yeah, a little bit too far forward, and I've literally got those strapped over the clip-ons there. But what I'm thinking is that angle will actually follow the forks like that, except not so low down. Higher up, closer to the forks. Yeah, not helpful really. Wait a minute. If in doubt, turn everything on its head. Yes, I think. Now I remember. I think I was going to put it this way up, wasn't I? Yeah, because that follows the line of the fork. Well, yeah, near enough. And it's all kind of neat and tidy. Except it needs to be neat and tidy in there now, obviously. I think that was the general idea. I kind of prefer that. All kinds of propage going on here. Yeah. But I think that was the general idea. It's alright, I need to repaint it anyway. It wasn't a great paint job. Bugger. Yes, I'm pretty sure that was the general idea, to provide a instrument binnacle housing situation, because Speedo can sit here. Yeah. Lights. Yeah, well, lights would kind of. What are we going to do with the light? Because it's probably got a mount. I mean, we could have 2. I don't want to. I prefer the Cyclops, so it can either go there, or it could go there. I prefer lower down. It's not going to be very effective at night, for sure. And the problem is, of course, that we've got this angle, right? And we don't have an angle on that. And as far as the actual fitment goes, as you can see, those headlamp mounts that I was looking at using anyway. There's another one down there somewhere. There you go. Yeah, they'll kind of do the job, maybe. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I guess we're going to have to drill a hole, some kind of appropriate size. Let's start off with that diameter and see where it goes from there. Luckily, the largest of my hole saws is about the same diameter as that. And given that they usually cut a hole slightly bigger than themselves, we should be okay. At least at a starting point.
Not going well.
So inside here is a grub screw to secure the fitting to the pilot screw, which we have now secured. So let's try again. Well, it does indeed fit, but of course, flush, which is not what we need. What we need is something like that, actually, which is just as well, because it's a really tight fit. So that'll work. Just a question of how we fit it inside to keep it there without drilling more bloody holes in the front. Well, it does actually wedge in there on its own. I don't think it will sustain a bump though. Anyway, let's see what it looks like. It looks like that. I don't particularly like, and it's still very skyward, isn't it? Is this just another stupid idea? Stupid boy. Well, that's more like the angle, but that's horrible, isn't it? Yeah. Well, there we have it. Yes, it's a little excessive, I'll admit that, but it slots over perfectly. Good starting point. Now what? Well, first up, I want to drill some holes in them. A little bit like this. But I've tried doing this before just with a hand drill, and getting it right just doesn't happen. Need a drill press, really. One of those drills that sits on a stand on a bench, which, as you can see, I haven't got. Just a drill pad. I know a man who has. Time for a trip to Ricky Boobies. Yes, that's what we're aiming for. And no, it's not a drill press, it's a vise and some accurately marked out holes using our faithful micrometer and punch and, of course, hammer. So we're not wading in with the big guns, we're doing this step by step. So we have a small hole to start with, like so. Stepping it up a little bit, and a little more, literally a bit at a time, if you'll excuse the pun, and if you won't, so be it. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so something like that. Now there's one more hole required, and that's that boy there. Yeah, because that's what fits it onto the peg itself. There. And in orange. I'm just using a bit of tape for now, because I'll paint it, probably, if I like it. Yeah, that's the idea. So there's that drilled, suitable for an M6, so it's a 1/4 inch hole. And I want to tidy up the other side. Because the sharper-eyed among you may have noticed that despite being drilled with a circular drill, as is normally the case, which has a circular motion, they're not quite circular, are they? So I've got this little guy, but I think little is the operative word. I don't think it's for doing counters. But as you can see, it's a little small. I have another idea. Yes, balls to this. Yeah, it's Tiswas time. And by balls, I mean precisely that, a ball. Yes. Just about the right size. Going to be pushing it, but actually that's all we need. So let's give it a go. Well, it was going so well. So initially my thought was that, steady Eddie, slow was better, but it had a tendency to hop when you actually hit the surface. So actually full speed was best, as is often the case. Obviously until this happened. Disintegration. Anyway, having cleaned it up a little bit, did it actually improve the situation? Somewhat. Yeah. I think a bigger ball would be a good idea. Again, bigger balls always a good solution. Anyway, well, we've got the power on. Let's finish the job. Okay, cut in place. Yeah, very untidy cut, needs a lot of finishing off. But that's the general idea there. I kind of like it, honestly. And room for a size 11. Yeah. Fits perfectly. Lovely. So yeah, what, 2 hours later, one half finished custom foot peg. So next time you're on eBay or wherever, looking at custom foot pegs and think 30 bucks is a lot of money, it's not. Option number 3.7 on the headlight, one I had kicking around. It's a nice light, it's got halo beam, it's got running lights, it's got main lights. Obviously this is just a mock-up, but yeah, I'm getting used to the single lights. I think I'll pursue that. Didn't want to have to do this again because getting the front wheel off this thing is a right fiddle, but the tyre's leaking. It's probably just a valve, might be the inner tube, I don't know. First up, we're going to loosen this off. That'll allow everything to move through. So in this case, it's an Allen bolt. Yeah, so as I now remember, this is a total pain in the arse. So this bolt that goes through here kind of has to come all the way out because it sits in there, sits in that groove. So you have to take it all the way out. So I was fighting that to start with. And yeah, then you have to have, obviously, the forks completely lined up when you put it back in to get the thread to go into this one. Anyway, a little bit of gentle persuasion, as you can see, and we got the job done. Hopefully without damaging too much. And no, this is not some weird retrofit, it's just so I can take it off the engine crane. Yes, indeedy, it's the front wheel from the other CB750. Yes, the 78 as opposed to the 82. So I think this situation is a little bit precarious. I don't think that's even in the thread, and that's what I mean. It's a real pain in the ass to refit the front wheel to get that fork level. I've done it on my own, but it's really kind of a two-man job to hold everything together. So despite the fact it's kind of standing on its own 2 feet, it's a little bit precarious, and I'm not going to move it around more than I need to. But at least I can get rid of that monster. Yes, the engine crane. There. Yes, not that monster. That's not monster. That's an MV. I sold the monster, if you remember. Camera, action, lights. So looking at all this mess, I think it is time to do an M unit. The trouble is, where are we going to mount it? Well, some of our favourite office furniture is coming into play. Yes, I feel a tray coming along. Not quite sure how we're going to do it yet, but we're going to follow the line of the battery and maybe tuck it up at an angle to follow that. Kind of makes sense. I mean, we need to shift our regulator rectifier, but we've worked out that we've got room just there, and that'll put it out in the breeze a little bit more as well, which is always a good thing, and free us up some kind of space here. Yes, more holes in the pan. Making up prototype number 1 with a bit of I don't know, guttering, flashing stuff. It'll do for now. Ludicrously long screw, because bolt, whatever, because that's all I've got in a flathead. So that'll do for now. Just testing. So the idea is that hooks over the top of that without touching the starter motor or the battery terminals. Here's a hot safety tip. How about we undo that? Yeah, that might be a good idea, mightn't it? Okay, so we're hooked over at the front, and we've got a couple of long bolts at the back. They're not quite right, and the holes aren't quite in the right place, sadly, which means we'll have to drill some. And from the side, it kind of looks like that at the moment. And actually, I don't mind that angle, but longer bolts would obviously make the difference there and just bring it down level with the frame. If that's the case, we need some kind of edge on it, obviously, otherwise all the batteries will be out in the air there. But otherwise, you know, generally I like the theory. I like where it's sitting. We've got those holes already, they're massive, hence the massive washers. But I like the prototype and the way it's coming along. Time to do it properly, I guess. Whether we do this level or otherwise, there's a lot of complications about filling in that gap, because up here we've got the bolts that actually hold the battery in place, which I suppose we could get rid of this entire box and just sit the battery on the tray. Could do that. That's a possibility. We've also got the fact that the tray is wider than the gap at the front and narrow at the rear, which again is fine at the rear, but it means we'd have to cut and mould and all kinds of stuff. So I just don't know. I think I'm going to bite the bullet and get the M unit, see what that looks like in the tray. Take it from there. As you can see, we've moved quickly from a cardboard cutout to some kind of mock-up. I don't know. We've got the frame, which isn't consistent. Obviously that flares, the tray doesn't. Do we fit it to the tray? Do we, yeah, there's all kinds of ifs and buts. So, potentially a lot to look forward to in the next episode. M units and trays and God knows what. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and of course encourage others to watch my lunacy.